Hello and welcome to the FleeceFolk Diary. My name is Azra and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as the Duchess of Sussex. Today I thought I'd sit down and talk through my Tour de Fleece 2025 dreams and aspirations. I say dreams, I don't like to goal set crafty things in a very concrete way. This Tour de Fleece marks it being close to a year of me purchasing my very first roll fleece. So it was Tour de Fleece 2024 and watching a lot of content around that, especially with Yenta at Mine Walden, that inspired me to buy my first kilo of roll fleece from Cloverleaf Corriedale. And that kicked off my love affair with not just fleece, but with Corriedale, which might feature in this year's Tour de Fleece. Only time will tell. I think without further ado, I'll get right into it. My very first project that I know I want to spin a sweater quantity, a cardigan quantity, or more of is right behind me. I just a basket full of braids. I loved this fleece. It is my very first time processing border Leicester. I bought this in, I want to say Feb or March, oops, and I saved some locks to show the variation in this fleece, not just in color, but and this was probably one of the easiest fleece I've ever processed. It was so easy to wash. And as it was drying, I could just pick it apart without needing a lot of effort. So carding this up on my homemade drum carder was a dream. I will have to show you my homemade drum carder some other time. The way I did that is I carded a batch. So this has gone through the drum carder just twice. It was I didn't think it needed more than that. I could have just picked it and you can see a bit of picked fiber here. I could have just taken a lock, done this and spun it from a nest, but because it was my first year intentionally preparing for Tour de Fleece, I've practiced the highest amount of restraint to not spin this. Because that is also quite easy. It just spins itself. I carded this on my homemade drum carder and then dizzed it off into long bits of roving and then crochet chained it. So when I'm ready to use it, I will simply undo the crochet chain, probably break it up into little bits of roving and just spin from one end. I've been very structured and well behaved with this, which is very unlike me when it comes to crafting. And I have spun a sample of this and swatched, not to brag. And this is border Leicester, so it's, you know, an English breed. And it isn't, I don't think, next to skin soft. I think that really depends on the way that you spin it. In my sample, I believe I did a 2-ply or 3-ply. It will not be a chain ply. I'm not feeling that brave. But I think I do want a cardigan with this. I meant to bring with me some sari silk that I recently bought from Fibre Art Shed. By the way, this fiber or this fleece is from a farm in New South Wales. I don't have those details. I'm very sorry, but I got it at, I think, Fiberfest or one of those. I very intentionally went to that festival to buy fleece, and I'll insert a photo of me with the fleece that I bought because it was one of the happiest days for me this year, which has been rare. Anyway, I was tempted to card this, or rather blend this with some sari silk that I got from Fibre Arts Shed recently. Their sari silk tops were quite well priced, although they were low on stock. But I don't know if I have the energy. I am trying to rest up a bit more these few weeks, so I may not get to it, but I mean, this won't be the last time I process border Leicester. It would have been nice to have little flecks of color go through this, but no, I think I'll just spin this as is. God, this makes me so happy. Just look at that. Okay, so that's definitely happening for Tour de Fleece. The next is some South Suffolk. This, I'm about to just air out my privilege here. My in-laws have a friend or an acquaintance who is a hobby farmer. I don't think he does this for the fleece, but he's got, I think, 10 South Suffolk sheep in his herd, and last year he gave me 2 whole South Suffolk fleece. So this is only some of it. I think I have more in a bag just in front of me. I do think I can get a cardigan or a sweater out of this. This, I did the same thing. So I actually have just stored away a bat that I got out of my homemade drum carder. It's pretty good for what it is, and while it is on the carder, I diz off strips and then crochet chain it up into a braid, just so I feel like I like to pretend that I own a mini mill, even though I live in a small space. But yeah, that's the South Suffolk. This, I hold a bit of the fiber and I treadle, and it's almost like I'm just something convenient to hold the fiber for the wheel to just spin. I feel like it's on autopilot when I spin this. I have already spun a skein of this. This is a 3-ply of this. It's really quite spongy. South Suffolk falls into the down braids, so I learned that they're called down braids not because it resembles down, sort of like what fills your pillows and jackets or whatever, but because they're from the south of England. I hope that's true. You can fact check me. People lie in their diaries all the time. I think that's fine. And I spun this up. I hope this is enough to make, because I wanted to make the farmer Ken a beanie or a garment from his flock, because I don't think he knows anybody that does process fleece. I hope he was joking when he had said he's gonna give me all 10 fleece this year. I do not have capacity for that. Emotionally and mentally I do. Space-wise, no, not in this economy. But again, more plans for Tour de Fleece. It's very possible that I might just spin a skein or 2 from all these batches, except for the border Leicester. The border Leicester, I want to go all out. I want to hold a bunch of skeins and, I don't know, frame it or something. But the next on my list has been a recent acquisition. Facebook is, again, really dangerous for, especially if you join the fiber groups and then you get into the farms and vendors that sell fleece. It's also dangerous because fleece is notoriously affordable in Australia. I was moaning in my last video about how people should be charging more for fleece in Australia, and you'll see why. This is from Lucinvale Coated Spinning Fleeces in South Australia. So I got 900 grams of this variegated Morit thin cross, and the cross is with Romney and Corriedale, and they staple a staple onto this card that the raw fleece is bagged in. I will insert a photo of me picking out a fat bunch of locks from this bag, and it was just glistening in the sun, and the lanolin was all over my hands, and it's just magic. I'm gonna leave some space to add that here. I washed it. This is my first time using Unicorn Power Scour, and I hate to say it, but I am a believer. But I'm gonna save it for my more delicate, my more superfine leaning fleece, because I can tell already that I can get away with something as sort of medium to coarse like Border Leicester. I can get away with using dish soap, any dish soap, but with the superfine, finer fleece, I do believe that Power Scour gets rid of lanolin at lower temperatures, so I'm not risking as much any felting. This I combed up. I wish I had thought of this logo. I want to steal it really badly, but I love this little sheepy spinning. That's just so amusing to me. I should put this in my junk journal or something. I've got to find a way to save all these cards and stat sheets. I've got to file that away somewhere. I combed up a bunch of these. I think I can finish combing up the whole batch. I didn't buy the whole fleece. It's just 900 grams. And I'm not sure if you can see the little champagne and fawn bits that are coming through. This is different to the Corriedale I had last time. And I'm hoping that when I spin this up, it'll be sort of just like a moirette marl all the way through the yarn. I'm really excited about this, and I know it'll spin like a dream. So combing is generally for a worsted preparation, but I don't believe in rules when it comes to crafting. I love a long draw. I think it's also like great for stretching, because I feel like crafters tend to be in the same position for hours on end. I'm completely telling on myself there, but who knows what this becomes. I don't usually spin with intention when it comes to looking for how thick my ply is, or whether I spin semi-worsted or worsted in a short forward draft, or I do a long draw for a woolen preparation, a woolen spin. The fiber usually leads me, so I'll report back when the fiber has led me somewhere. And then the final one is a very special fleece. I bought it the same round as my Border Leicester, and it is a Corriedale cross. It's from a ewe called Marilyn, and Marilyn is a bit of a superstar. I didn't know this when I bought it, but I think she belongs to a high school in New South Wales, and like an agricultural high school maybe, and the students do show the sheep at shows, and Marilyn came first in her class at the Hawkesbury show recently. So I was just combing her up every weekend, every time I could, and then when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, I have award-winning fleece. I'll show you a bit of, this is how she comes raw. She is a deep chocolate with the most fantastic blonde tips. She's so cool. I've fluffed this one, and the staple length is ridiculous. I have spun a bobbin of her already, and I was not used to Corriedale crosses. I had practiced with Corriedale before, and that I could do in a short forward draft. And I was drafting and I was like, why isn't it coming? But I realized I was pulling on the same staple because the staple is so long. So she asked to be spun woolen, and that's what she will be. Here's a gorgeous chocolate bobbin of Marilyn. So we'll see. It is winter here in Australia, and I'm conscious of there not being very much light during, well, most of the day where I live. So I wanted a mix of dark colored fleece and some light blends. That's that. And then for I wanted a bit more color. I wanted sort of a departure from raw fleece, just to mix it up, because I didn't want it to feel like a drag. And I wasn't spinning with any sort of urgency. There's no garment that I, can't wait for or don't have the patience for. I started with the Australian fleeces because this podcast vodcast is aimed at highlighting and providing a spotlight for Australian fleece. That is truly a huge passion of mine, but I am a living, breathing human, and I have ordered some very special braids from the UK, and I think when you see it, you'll understand why. Not that anybody needs to, but I also would like to do a combo spin for a sweater. I don't have my traveler shawl near me. I just finished that, and that didn't take as many braids. I feel like for a combo spin of a sweater, I would need maybe, I'm guessing, 6 braids that weigh 100 grams each. If it isn't enough for a sweater, I can always find other projects for it, or I will do some color work or something like that. Anyway, I'm not a very good sleeper, and I was awake at 5 a.m. and that corresponded to, I think, a normal human wake hour in the UK. And I saw that she had posted that there were fiber braids available. So I indulged myself, I allowed myself to buy a few of her braids. And I think I spoke last time about how almost black is a favorite color of mine, and I feel like when these combine, they will give me an almost black. So I'll go into more detail about what I've got. So I have from Marina, by the way, the colorways are handwritten. She is a celebrity to me, so I feel like I'm touching something that she's touched, and that's a bit creepy actually. This is her Tilt blend. So it is 100% British wool. It is a mix of Black Welsh Mountain, Shetland, Jacob, Blueface, Leicester, and Suffolk. That's pretty interesting. So I've been pining to complete my collection of the Leicester family. So I actually have some Leicester long wool or English Leicester fleece that I have scoured and combed up. It is quite wiry. It's not the softest fiber, but I think I might blend it into something and make it a sock spin. I don't know, but I have Leicester long wool, I have border Leicester, but I don't have Blueface Leicester. If you know of anyone in Australia that would have access to Australian grown Blueface Leicester, please get in touch with me via Instagram, Ravelry, or leave a comment below. I doubt we have Blueface Leicester, although recently I've learned we have way more sheep breeds that I didn't think existed here, like Ryland and East Frisian, and even Cheviot. I don't know how that's pronounced. Anyway, I have her Tilt blend in Blue Shift, and Blue Shift is correct. That is what that is. Oh my days. I have Tilt blend in Evening Glow. I have from Marina Tilt blend again in she hasn't written anything. I'll have to go see what this is, but it doesn't matter because the colors go. And then in my stash, I had Hephaestus from Handmade by Catkin. I believe she's based in Canberra, in ACT, on a Finn wool base. So I was very confused because for my Harlow flip, I spun her Hephaestus on the Corriedale base. And I was looking at this going, I've already spun Hephaestus, but it wasn't as dark as this. And I realized that it's the base of this that is dark, which is over dyed. So this is some Finn with Hephaestus in the Hephaestus colorway. And then from deep stash, from when I first started spinning, I have 2 braids of, this is Finn and Shetland, or just Shetland. This is 100% Shetland, and this is from Cat and Sparrow in the colorway Shakespeare in Love. And my partner and I were discussing how we don't know why, but it just makes the colorway name. I love a good name. I love it when the name matches the product. I love it in nail polishes. I love it in hand-dyed braids. So I have 2 of that, 1 of this, 3 of that. And then I have a habit, I've just started a habit actually, of collecting bits of braids that I don't end up spinning, because sometimes a braid, or oftentimes a braid, will not split evenly between bobbins, and I will just go by how full a bobbin is to determine if I will have an even weight or number on each bobbin prior to plying. So I might throw these into the mix as well, because I'd rather have more of this yarn than not have enough, because I am planning a 3-ply. I want a round, plump yarn. This is actually Hephaestus on the Corriedale, so you can see how different it is to the fin base. Isn't that cool? That's the fin, that's the Corriedale. This is on a white or gray Corriedale clearly, and that's on a dark fin. It's so cool. It's so cool. So I will probably add that in. It'll just get, you know, thrown into the mix, come out the other end. I also have a little nubbin, which I have since lost. Where are you? There you are. This is a colored Polworth top that has been over dyed in these deep moody reds and a bit of green. I will show you what the hand spun that I got out of this braid some other time. It's one of my favorites, and it's spun out thinner than I wanted for the project, so I don't know what that will become. It is one of my most precious little skeins, but I'm gonna throw her into the mix as well. Waste not, waste not. And what I am hoping to get is a 3-ply, kind of like that. This is more hand spun from me. This is my first, that's a lie, this is my second combo spin. I have more skeins of this, but I want to get something to this effect. And in both the combo spins I've done so far, I have thrown in a braid that was either a semi-solid or an almost solid. So this will be my first combo spin where there are really no solids, because I think when you throw a solid into a combo spin, you get to control the narrative on the main dominating color, which I really don't mind. I am curious as to how this will knit up, but I've promised myself that I will focus on a long pending commission this week and the next week, or in the coming weeks, and over Tour de Fleece. I want to have it done before the end of July and send it to its forever home, and I hope they love it. It is the Catnip Pullover by Andrea Gowan. No. Andrea. I'll put it here. And it is, I'm knitting it on 2.25mm needles, so, and it's gonna take me a very long time, but is that it? That's about it. I showed you some raw fleece from Marilyn, but I've also got the combed nestlets, and those are the blonde tips. Because when you comb a fiber, the longest fibers come off first, so you're left with the shortest bits in the end. So that's Marilyn's story, from fleece to comb nest to a single. One of the other things that I want to explore, and this is maybe not for Tour de Fleece, is to leave my spins as singles. So maybe in the finishing process to be a bit more aggressive with it, thwack it, and maybe felt it a little bit to create strong single ply yarn, although I tend not to knit with singles as much. Having said that, the contrast color here is Malabrigo Machida. I'll have to talk about this cardigan some other time. It was a test knit for Vera Marcu. She's at Vera Loves Knitting, and I don't know what she puts into patterns, but I knit this in 6 days. It was a bit insane. The main color is Bendigo Woolen Mills Luxury 10 ply, and this is a long discontinued yarn. It's actually their 12 ply rustic yarn in the color Forest, which forms the cuffs and the button band. Ignore these toggle buttons, they're going to be replaced by something else. But those are, not even in a nutshell, I feel like I've gone to great lengths to explain what I'm doing. Those are my plans for Tour de Fleece. I am limited by the number of bobbins that I have. I will be spinning on my Ashford traditional. It's what I like to do. I do have a secondhand Roberta wheel, which is an e-spinner, and I usually use that for plying because I find plying quite boring and very understimulating, so the speed helps. So hopefully I can get through it. I do have quite a few bobbins, I have to say. I'm limited by the number of them, but I scored something like 9 bobbins on Facebook Marketplace a few months ago. Somebody was selling it for something ridiculous, and that couldn't beat buying it new. So I will follow through with that. I think Tour de Fleece will be entirely a time for me to spend on my wheels. I don't think I will be intentionally doing any project on my either drop spindles or supported spindles, although I do want to practice on my supported spindle just to get the hang of it. I'm still at the park and draft stage. I don't have the ability to do continuous draft. But anyway, it's all about having fun. Tour de Fleece this year will really be about connecting with the art of spinning. It will be about getting in touch with the restorative nature of it, about healing and meditation after what's been a rough day, month, year, week, whatever. So hopefully I should be able to seek some solace in my time. I will have a lot of time to spin for Tour de Fleece, so I'm very fortunate that way. I'd love to know, I'm very nosy, I'd love to know what you are doing for Tour de Fleece, if this is your first time or if you are a Tour de Fleece veteran, whether you'll be dipping into stash or if you've acquired something new. I know a lot of dyers do some sort of advent-like packages or releases for Tour de Fleece. Are you spinning as part of any group? I don't think I have strictly joined any cohort of spinners, but I think my local guild will have a page either on Ravelry or on Facebook, which I might just dip into. I just love to see what people are spinning, and I think it's just a time, it's kind of like Me Made May, where I want my feed to be flooded with all the beautiful things that people are spinning. I don't think we can have enough of that with the state of the world at the moment. So I'm wishing you a fulfilling and enjoyable and joyous Tour de Fleece. Let me know what you're making. Send me a DM anywhere that you can find me. I'd love to talk all things craft and fleece especially. And I'll leave you with some outdoor knitting at a Highland gathering. I love taking my knitting to Highland gatherings. This particular one had a lot of bagpipes, obviously, and food stalls, but also Highland games. So you might hear that being announced on the speaker. It's not a very peaceful environment, but it was a lovely little bit of knitting that I managed to get done on, I think it was a sock too. Again, can't be helped. I'll see you next time. Happy spinning. Bye.
Yeah, hit the bar, and he was under the bar. One attempt left. Now Kurt Livens.
Well, you better get a photo of Marty Howard.
Damien Jones. Dear, oh dear. We've got one attempt left.